Match 6 Lex Luger.
Yeah, so we get also interview
Yes.
by Mean Gene
Mm-hmm.
with Mr. Perfect.
Yes.
So at this point in time, we actually have Mr. Perfect call Lex Luger the Lexircist, and I'm wondering why that didn't stick.
Oh. So we talk about, thank you to the seamstress that made Lex's outfit. That outfit was pretty awesome. Also, somebody brings out mirrors and it looks like they're going to set them on fire.
Yeah, it's actually, give me a second. There we have a little thing that my wife has to go take care of, so I'll go ahead and take it from here. Yes, Raymond, that is correct. The gimmick that Lex Luger had at this time was as of the narcissist. So, as the narcissists tend to do, he actually comes to the ring with beautiful showgirls holding mirrors to feed into his narcissist gimmick. And at that point in time, for some reason, they decided to put sparklers on top of these mirrors. Uh, so who knows why that happened? So we have Mr. Perfect here, who gave a great promote until he stuttered and called Lex Luger the Lexircist. But it was fun to see Mean Gene actually and Mr. Perfect try to keep a straight face at the end when Mr. Perfect ends up saying the Lexorcist. So while I'm buying some time for my wife to come back while she attends to our son, I'm going to go ahead and give a little recap of the match here with some back and forth wrist locks. Here, when Mr. Perfect is in control, you can hear that the crowd is actually cheering for him. And since we've seen Mr. Perfect here in WWE WrestleManias, he's actually been the heel. So hearing the crowd behind Mr. Perfect is a little weird for me because it's not a lot of times that Mr. Perfect is a babyface. So they go back and forth here, and Mr. Perfect hits him with his perfect chops, and you can hear them loud and clear. I don't think you need any microphone enhancements on those. And so, Mr. Perfect gets back into the ring after he goes outside to chase Luger. And then when he's getting back into the ring, he ends up hitting Mr. Perfect in the back. And at this point in time, he starts working on Mr. Perfect's back. I don't believe at this time he has that torture rack finisher move that he ends up adopting and using in WCW. But because we never get to that point for this match here, we get uh, pretty much the match ends with one of them. They get kind of tied up and they try to do a crucifix pin on each other. And who's gonna win? Is it Lex or is it Mr. Perfect? Lex actually is the one that wins, and it's kind of like one of those crucifix pins, like a bomb type of thing. But Mr. Perfect's feet are actually on the ropes, and unlike the previous pinfall that I didn't describe here, um, the ref does not see Mr. Perfect's feet, and he calls the 1, 2, 3 pinning one for Lex Luger. After this, Mr. Perfect gets knocked out. After Mr. Perfect comes to, he realizes that Lex Luger has cheated and runs after him. When he runs back after him into the backstage area, Lex Luger is actually talking to Shawn Michaels. He pushes Lex Luger aside, and Shawn Michaels starts attacking Mr. Perfect, and then they start going at it. And then at that point in time, that they end up getting separated by security, and that actually leads for the feud between Mr. Perfect and Shawn Michaels to start up there. All right, here. Now, I'm trying to look at my wife's notes. It looks like she has something where she quips here that she believes that they're calling the wrong person Mr. Perfect, and that Lex is giving Mr. Perfect the run for his money. She also believes that she may be wrong, but Lex doesn't have any wrestling finesse in this match. Yes, I agree that she does not have any that Lex does not have any wrestling finesse in this match. Um, and as we see here, as she's getting close to her notes at the end of the match, she is upset with the way that Lex ends up winning this match and believes that it was a horrible situation. Yes, I agree, Raymond. Another comment here from our Facebook Live: Lex is trash compared to Kurt. I believe that as well. There's a lot of times and instances where Mr. Perfect is doing a lot of things to help the new talent or the people that Vince has brought in that he believes is the wave of the future. But as my wife pointed out in her notes, there's something missing here, and it doesn't feel like Lex has any finesse or has any type of wrestling chops here. Maybe because he has like that bodybuilding competition mindset, uh, like background, because that's how primarily how he came in because of the World Bodybuilding Federation, and he's not uh, a wrestler traditionally. But yeah, there is something weird, and it's I don't know why they feel that there's something there with Lex, because I don't see it. I guess Vince wanted to get the eyes of the other gender, the women primarily, who probably get dragged to these wrestling events along with their husbands or their boyfriends, or for some reason manage to get free tickets. So, another note from my friend Raymond: any kids that aspire to be wrestlers should watch Kurt's matches. He was so good. Kurt's matches with Brett were an optimal blend of looking hard hitting while keeping everyone safe. Yeah, I agree, Raymond, that there's a lot of things I believe that Kurt does very well. He sells when he needs to sell to get the face over to make him look like, there's no way that Kurt will actually be able to beat, Mr. Perfect would actually be able to beat Bret Hart in this sense, in this example that you brought up. But also Lex Luger. I mean, if you're looking physique wise, yeah, there's no way that someone should be thinking that Lex should be losing to Kurt or Mr. Perfect. Um, Another comment from Raymond here where he says that unfortunately Mr. Perfect's skills are not genetic. And I agree, but there's also I think one of those things where maybe he did not have it in him. He, you know, Kurt Hennig found something, I guess, in that Mr. Perfect gimmick because once he leaves Vince, which happens pretty shortly after WrestleMania, to go over to WCW. He doesn't have a lot of success there, and I'm not sure why any of the promoters did not see Kurt as being the guy. Like by the guy, we mean like the man who will be carrying the championship title. Where back in those days, it would have been from territory to territory, or in this instance, like headline on WrestleMania. But I wish that Mr. Perfect would have been able to find that match or that gimmick or something to put him over more, to get him out there. Yeah, that probably was it too, Raymond. Good point. That he didn't care that when he was in WCW, he was making a ton of money and hanging out with his friends. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think that is an accurate statement. Probably, we would never know unless we go down the rabbit hole and dig up some interviews. And now my wife is back, and give me a second. Just catching up my wife on the things I went over here and finishing up the notes of the Mr. Perfect Lex Luger. Is there anything in here on your notes that you wanted to add before we move on from the Mr. Perfect Lex Luger match?
Well, I mean, I think we talked about Lex's outfit, which is super cool. Those mirrors, like they were gonna set him on fire.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you wrote, I'm like, this man is on fire. The
No.
audience is shaken.
Oh God.
Mr. Perfect has to come out after that. Was like, wow. That's like going on after Dave Chappelle. You just have like somebody amazing, and then you're like, here I am. But I thought Mr. Perfect's fans were still excited to see him.
Yeah.
He's wearing a neon yellow ensemble, and I'm with Macho. This is a match I'm waiting to see.
Okay.
I think they're calling the wrong person Mr.
Yeah, I did
Perfect,
mention that. Yeah.
because that Lex is giving him a run for his money. So those are my notes.
Okay. Raymond had something here when I mentioned that you were going away for a little bit. He thought you were going to come back with airbrush muscles like Giant Gonzalez.
I'm telling you.
He also mentions that this Lex is on fire.
I think.
So